Imagine it's 1914. Detroit, Michigan. The air smells like horse manure and gasoline, which is a combination that somehow nobody thought was a problem. You've just bought one of the 1.7 million Model T Fords that rolled out this year. You are, by all reasonable definitions, a person of the future. And your car is absolutely filthy. Not a little dusty. Genuinely, embarrassingly, offensively filthy. Because roads in 1914 are not roads. They are suggestions. Dirt suggestions. With horse activity on them. So you do what every car owner in America does. You drag a bucket and a rag out to your driveway, and you spend 3 hours doing something that is technically cleaning but is mostly just moving mud around. Nobody had thought of a better way yet. And here's the thing nobody tells you in business school. The most profitable ideas in history weren't invented by geniuses sitting in labs. They were invented by exhausted people who were just tired of doing something the stupid way. This is the story of how the car wash went from a bucket and a prayer to a $15 billion global industry, and the surprisingly insane economics hiding inside every tunnel you drive through. By 1914, there were roughly 1.7 million cars in America. By 1920, that number would explode to 8 million. And every single one of those cars needed cleaning. But here's the economic problem nobody was solving. Washing a car by hand took 2 to 3 hours. It required buckets, rags, access to water, and, most expensively, your time. In 1914, the average American worker earned about 22 cents an hour. Time was money, and car cleaning was eating it. 3 men in Detroit looked at this problem and thought the same thing. What if you didn't move the people to the car? What if you moved the car through the people? In 1914, in a basement in Detroit, Frank McCormick and 2 partners opened what is now widely considered the first commercial car wash in recorded history. They called it, with absolutely zero creativity, the automated laundry. It was not automated. At all. Here's how it worked. You drove your car in. A team of workers physically pushed it, by hand, through 3 stations. At Station 1, soap and scrub. Station 2, rinse. Station 3, dry. Total time, roughly 2 hours. Total cost, 25 cents. Which, adjusted for inflation, is about $8 today. The business made money. Not because it was efficient. It made money because it was consistent. You knew what you were getting. You knew the price. And you didn't have to do it yourself. That is, quietly, one of the most underrated insights in all of business history. People will pay not for a product, but for the removal of inconvenience. The car wash didn't sell cleanliness. It sold back your Sunday afternoon. For the next 2 decades, car washes spread slowly. By the late 1930s, there were maybe a few hundred across the United States. All manual. All labor-heavy. All limited by one thing, human speed. You can only push a car so fast. Then in 1940, a man in Hollywood, California named Thomas Simpson had an idea that sounds obvious now but was genuinely radical then. What if a conveyor did the pushing? He installed a mechanized conveyor belt, borrowed from the manufacturing industry, that slowly pulled cars through a tunnel while workers scrubbed on both sides. He called it the Minuteman car wash, because it could process a car in minutes, not hours. The numbers changed immediately. A manual wash could handle maybe 20 cars a day. The conveyor system could handle 100. Same building. Same location. 5 times the revenue. This is what economists call a throughput breakthrough, and it's the same logic that later built McDonald's, Amazon warehouses, and every airline boarding process you've ever hated. The goal isn't quality. The goal is volume per unit of time. Simpson had accidentally invented the first car wash with real economics. But labor was still expensive. You still needed people on both sides of that tunnel, scrubbing. Then in 1951, 2 men in Seattle, Dan Hanna and a partner, opened the first fully mechanized, automatic car wash. Rotating cloth brushes replaced human hands. Overhead sprinklers replaced workers with hoses. One person could now operate an entire car wash. The labor cost dropped by roughly 70%. And that's when the economics became genuinely absurd. A well-located automatic car wash in the 1950s could process 300 to 400 cars a day. At 50 cents per wash, that's $200 a day. Roughly $6,000 a month. The equipment paid for itself in under a year. Dan Hanna, by the way, did not stop at one. He turned his system into a franchise model, eventually operating or licensing over 600 car washes across America under a company called Hanna Car Wash Systems. He didn't just build a business. He built the infrastructure that let everyone else build the same business. Which is a trick that the truly great entrepreneurs keep pulling off. They don't just profit from the gold rush. They sell the shovels. Today, the US car wash industry generates about $15 billion a year. There are over 60,000 car wash locations across the country. And the economics have evolved in ways that would genuinely confuse Frank McCormick if you explained them. Here's the number that matters most. the subscription model. Starting in the early 2010s, car washes began offering monthly unlimited memberships. For $30 a month, you can wash your car every single day. Sounds like a terrible deal for the business, right? Wrong. Studies by the International Car Wash Association found that most subscription members wash their cars an average of 1.4 times per month. They pay for daily access and use it roughly once a week. The car wash makes money on the gap between what people intend to do and what they actually do. This is the same model that gyms use, that streaming services use, that every subscription box that's still sitting unopened on your shelf uses. The behavioral economics term for this is the intention-action gap. And businesses that build their entire revenue model around it are some of the most quietly profitable in the world. But here's what the car wash story is actually about. Because it's not really about soap and brushes and conveyor belts. It's about what happens when you take something that everyone already needs, and you remove the friction around it. In 1914, cleaning your car was your problem. You owned the car. You owned the inconvenience. Frank McCormick's insight, however accidentally he arrived at it, was that inconvenience is a market. If enough people share the same frustrating task, there is money in solving it at scale. That insight built car washes. It also built laundromats, drive-through restaurants, ATMs, food delivery apps, and whatever service you used last week without thinking about it. The entire service economy, which is now roughly 77% of US GDP, is built on the same foundation that a basement in Detroit accidentally discovered in 1914. Someone looked at something annoying and thought, what if people paid to make this not their problem? We don't know exactly what Frank McCormick was thinking the morning he opened his doors. We don't know if he imagined conveyor belts or subscription models or a $15 billion industry a century later. We just know that somewhere in Detroit, a man looked at a muddy car and a tired person and thought, there has to be a better way. And there was. There always is. That's what business actually is. Underneath all the jargon and the pitch decks and the quarterly reports. It's just someone, somewhere, getting tired of doing something the stupid way, and deciding to fix it.